Welcome to the Powerline Podcast, the official podcast of Greystone Power. I'm your host, Emily Young, and today we're taking a look at some of the notable moments for Greystone in 2024. So, let's get started on episode 51 of the Powerline Podcast. To reflect on 2024 and look ahead to 2025, we're joined by President CEO Gary Miller, who will share key events and accomplishments of your electric cooperative. Hi, Gary. It's that time of the year again. It's great to have you here. Thanks for taking some time to chat with me today. A lot of milestones happened in 2024. Let's start with one of the most exciting milestones from last February when we connected our first customer with Greystone Connect, which is our high-speed fiber internet subsidiary. How is this service benefiting Greystone members now?
Well, Emily, it's great to be with you again, and certainly 2024 was a great year, and we're very optimistic about 25 as well. You mentioned Greystone Connect, and yes, that is doing far better than we even had planned at the time. You know, as you mentioned, a year ago, we connected our first customer, and at the end of this year, we're at 1,600 subscribers to our broadband, and we have another nearly 300 who are waiting to be connected. So the interest is certainly there. You know, our objective was to bring broadband into areas that are unserved and underserved, and we kind of define that as areas that do not have access to broadband, high-speed internet today. And so our build-out is to ultimately reach our members who don't have that access. And we are now in Phase 2. We've completed Phase 1. We'll be completing Phase 2 by this summer and begin on Phase 3, which will let us, between all three phases, we'll pass nearly 15,000 homes and businesses.
Another way we make life better is by supporting the community that we serve. Greystone works closely with local legislators to help pass bills that protect our members and our employees. In May, Governor Brian Kemp signed into law the Utility Worker Protection Act. Can you tell us about that legislation?
Yeah, this law increases criminal penalties for persons convicted of assault or battery against a utility worker. And unfortunately, you know, electric utilities, including Greystone, have had instances where their employees have been threatened before. So, you know, this bill is supported by a broad coalition, and it was led by Georgia EMC, which is our statewide trade association, and they, represent all 41 of Georgia's electric membership corporations.
Last summer, Greystone members had significant savings on their total monthly costs compared to customers of other electric utilities. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes, the Public Service Commission twice a year publishes on their website a ranking of all the utilities, electric utilities in the state. And they do it in the summer and they do it in the winter. And for the summer rates, for a member who would use 1,500 kilowatt hours on average, our rates were 32% less than Georgia Power. Now, that would mean that your bill would be $95 cheaper during the summer for that usage for that month. And, focusing on our costs and keeping our rates low, we have historically had some of the lowest rates in the state year after year, and we're very proud of.
In addition to low prices, Greystone strives to deliver reliable power to our members. One way is through our right-of-way program, which keeps vegetation off the lines. What else has the Operations and Engineering Division been working on to provide reliable power?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll tell you, last year our crews cleared vegetation from more than 650 miles of line. We also cut hundreds of trees, danger trees as we call them, which are trees outside of our right-of-way, but they're dead or they're dying and they pose a risk of falling onto the power lines. So we know that trees year after year represent the majority of all the outages that we have. And so identifying those and keeping our right-of-way maintained is essential to reliability of power. In addition, every year we make improvements to our system to enhance our resiliency from the storm threats. This was usually done with installing stronger, larger poles, heavier wire, and other instances that can help withstand some of the weight of ice, snow, and even trees that are falling on it. To date, we've installed more than 700 remotely controllable devices that allow us to restore power quickly in the event of an outage by being able to reroute power directly from the office to try to work around where an outage may actually have occurred. In 24, we did more than a dozen more installations in that to bring us, up to over 700 of those now. And then we began a 2-year project last year that allows for both fiber and radio frequency communications to those devices. And we're in the process now of implementing a centralized automation capability. That's going to allow us to restore power even faster and isolate outages for our members. So we are constantly focused on the initiatives and the things that we can do to minimize outage time for our members, because we know reliability is something that is very, very important.
In August, Greystone Connect celebrated another milestone with the launch of Phase 2. What updates can you share about Greystone Connect?
So we are probably in Phase 2 about 73% of the way through in constructing that. We are actively now connecting members or subscribers to that service in that area. We are planning now to move to Phase 3. We're already looking at that in order to keep our crews working. Phase 3 probably will be something we'll start by this summer, and it'll kind of be a lot of South Douglas and some of the Paulding County area as well. To date, Greystone Connect has built over 650 miles of fiber lines, and we're continuing to grow the organization. It's something we're very excited about. We've seen a very, very positive response from our members, and I'll tell you, the reliability of the service, the customer service, the feedback that we're getting from our members is just off the charts. So it is an excellent service, something we look forward to getting ultimately deployed to all of our members who are unserved and underserved.
In October, Greystone returned $12 million in capital credits to members and former members. How is Greystone able to do this?
Well, as you know, Greystone is a cooperative, which means we are owned by our members. So if you're a member receiving power from us, you are an owner. We don't have stockholders. So when we make a profit each year, or a margin as we call it, we allocate that back to all of our members pro rata based on the amount of energy they purchased from that year. And then every year, as our financial condition allows, we retire portions of that money back to our members. And, Greystone has been in a very strong financial condition for decades, and something we're very proud of. And it allows us financially to be able to return that capital to our members. And so this year, and I think last year as well, we returned $12 million, each of those years to our members. It's something I think you'll see us continue to do based on the strong financial condition that Cooperative is in.
Now that we've covered 2024, let's turn our attention to 2025. Which project or initiative do you believe will bring the most benefit to Greystone members this year?
So I would say, there's two things that we're looking at that I think will really have a positive impact. One is the continued expansion of broadband. We know in those areas where people have been unserved or underserved, the ability now to work from home, the access that high-speed internet now will bring them for their kids, for education, all of that, is really fundamentally changing lives. And we hear stories from our members all the time about the things they're able to do now that they have reliable high-speed internet. So expansion of that and continued rollout, I know, is going to make life better, which is our vision here, make life better for our members, and that's exactly what the broadband is doing. Secondly, I mentioned a little bit earlier on reliability about some of the automation we were doing on our system to minimize outages. We were in the process using AI and stuff with our dispatch center to move to where the computer itself will, in a fraction of a second, make the decision of how it can reroute power and isolate an outage and bring more members back up as quickly as possible. Today it's humans that are analyzing this data, but when we roll this out using AI, it will be the computer doing it, and it will be able to do it in a fraction of a second. So we're on the cusp, and I think by the end of this year to start seeing the impact of even improving reliability as well. So those are two things that I'm really excited about that I think are going to have a real positive impact on our membership.
Thank you so much for your time today. I know the members always appreciate these yearly updates. Okay, so we always ask everybody the same last question. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our members?
Just last week, we had a snow event, 2¼ inches of snow, a little bit of ice. What I would say to our members, especially this time of the year, is we prepare for these events so that we can minimize that time as well. We had, for this last event, we had over 100 linemen stationed throughout our system that morning, ready to respond. We went ahead and deployed them throughout the system so they could quickly get to any outage that might occur. We were very fortunate, but we did have at one time up to 24,000 members that were out. Now that was a fairly short period of time due to a transmission line that was down, but our crews worked through the night and we had everyone essentially back on by the next morning. So I know the weather forecast is calling for some more chance of snow and inclement weather. So I just want to let our members know that we take these events seriously. We do a lot of planning, a lot of preparation. We have an emergency response plan that we go through every year and reenact an event that might happen so that we remain as cohesive of a group and as well planned as we can for these events. I just want to mention the process that we go through and how we take that seriously, and our crews will be ready to respond anytime.
Unfortunately, we're all out of time for today's episode. Make sure to check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X, formerly Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, available on our website, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us for episode 51. We'll catch you next time on the Powerline Podcast.